Everyone, this is Eddie with DK Pittsburgh Sports. Just wanted to let you know before we get into Steelers today that this show, as always, is brought to you by BetQL, the only app that you're going to need to make smart bets and get an advantage over your sportbook. Check this out. They scan over 350,000 unique bets per year to give you a best bet recommendation for every game in every single major sport. It covers everything: spreads, over-unders, player prop bets. Not only they got you covered on every bet, but their algorithms look at historical performance, matchups, weather, injuries, coaching, and so much more. They give you in-game line movements so that you can jump on bets in real time. It's sharp data to see who the pros are backing so that you're not left behind. So if you want to get started right now, you can do one of two things. You can go to try.betql.co/DKPS, or just make your life easy and download the BetQL app. Again, that's try.betql.co/DKPS if you're going to go online. Enter code DKPS at checkout for 25% off any subscription, or if you use the BetMGM offer, you get a free year of BetQL. BetQL's best bets algorithms went 13-2 on 5-star bets for the Week 1 NFL games between Thursday and Sunday. So you definitely need to take advantage of BetQL now.
Hello and welcome to Steelers Today. He's Dale Lolley. I'm Dejan Kovacevic. We're from DK Pittsburgh Sports. And the Steelers lost this game by a score of
26-17.
And just, I don't know, Dale, it never felt that close to me. Even when it was closer.
You know, it's not like the Raiders completely outplayed the Steelers in this game. I thought a couple of plays here and there went Las Vegas's way. The Steelers defensively in this game were missing, obviously, a lot of pieces here. And I think as the game wore on, the Raiders started to figure some things out. The Steelers were taking away Darren Waller and working really hard to take Darren Waller away. And they did.
Yeah.
And then you saw the deep pass that they hit to Henry Ruggs. Took advantage of that Steelers' aggressiveness to take Darren Waller out of the game, got Minkah Fitzpatrick to bite underneath on Waller, and they threw the ball over his head. Can't happen in that situation. It was 3rd and 10. The momentum had changed a little bit. Carr just heaves a pass up off of his back foot and throws it as far as he can. Under pressure.
Yeah. And it's like just before that, I started thinking about how much the Steelers had missed the pressure. And then they went and they got it on that sequence. And Carr just, look, I'm going to go to bat for the Raiders here, okay? That play is pretty spectacular. And if it's Pittsburgh that makes that play, that's all anybody'd be talking about, okay, is the tremendous work of the quarterback and the speed of Ruggs.
Wow. Ruggs he's a 4-3 guy. I mean, okay. That's what he does.
So, yes, there are ways to defend it. Make a come back and help and not bite, although, again, the guy he was coming in on had 21 targets last week.
It was a well-designed play by the Raiders. Sometimes
well done.
You tip your cap to the other team. They have coaches too.
They do, and that was a really good play, and that was even better executed, considering I thought the Steelers, at least up front, really defended it well by getting to Carr as fast as they did. You know, there's going to be a lot of different moments that people will look at in this game, or decisions, and I know what the reflex is. The reflex is almost always, what did Tomlin do wrong? And I'm hearing and reading already on social media a lot about the 4th and 1, the decision to punt. And you asked Tomlin about that.
I did, and he said he considered going for it there. But that didn't hurt them. That didn't lose the game for them. That 61-yard touchdown pass, that lost the game for them. In that situation, the Steelers got a stop after the 4th and 1. They got the ball back, and they went down and kicked a field goal. Which was the score that they were going to get. They needed 2 scores, and they got one of them. Ben Roethlisberger had kind of an interesting answer whenever he was asked about 4th and 1. Do you want to go for it? Are you at a position yet in your career, was asked of him, where you can, overrule the coach or whatever, which is a preposterous question. But Ben said, well, not when the punt team is coming on, which was Ben's way of saying, I'm not the head coach. I know that a couple of people in the room, myself included, asked Ben stuff about decisions that were made, and Ben came back with,
I'm not the head coach and I'm not the offensive coordinator. Now, Dale, there's going to be people who read that as if it's going to be some sort of mutiny on his part. He's actually just answering the question.
Truthfully.
Factually.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. Is there anything that you saw that might have been a, because let's be fair here, because we were praising the coaches last week in Buffalo. Was this a coaching game?
Not really. I mean, again, you're down 4 defensive starters in this game, 2 of which you went into the game knowing you wouldn't have. Then you lose
4 of your best,
and you lose
starters.
T.J. Watt, you lose Joe Hayden, you lose Devin Bush, Tyson Alualu up the middle. So you have a lot of young guys playing in this football game, and young guys make young guy mistakes, and that's what I saw out there today. You heard Mike Tomlin talk about it after the game. Once attrition set in. That's what that means, folks. Once attrition set in, there were some mistakes made. Young guys were making young guy mistakes out there. And Tomlin did say we have to do a better job of coaching them up so that those young guy mistakes don't happen. But they did happen. It's week 2. You don't expect to go into a game in week 2 and lose 4 defensive starters essentially in the first quarter.
Yeah, and this isn't to pick on a rookie here, okay, but when you're looking out there in the fourth quarter and you see Isaiah Loudermilk
logging serious snaps
at the left edge of the line, whenever you really, 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 really needed to get the football back, that kind of tells you where this was headed from the attrition standpoint.
I mean, they had to bump Cam Hayward into nose tackle late in that game because Isaiah Buggs was nicked up a little bit and couldn't get out there. So
and Cam, by the way, if you're wondering about his impact, he got doubled all through the second half, which again, it doesn't take a genius. It can only take a John Gruden even to figure that out.
Right.
That you just that guy right there can hurt me. None of these other players can hurt me, so I'm just going to go cover him. I just don't see this one as being about coaching, and that's not to sound like because we cover the team or whatever else. It's just that look, when the coaches screw up, you will hear about it here. You will read about it on our site. I just don't think they were much of a factor. I just think it's a lot easier to blame coaches.
Oh, it's always easier to blame coaches.
Because you like the players. You have the players' posters are on your wall. You follow them on social media and everything, and it's easy to like the players.
Yeah, well, it's easy to, I do this on Madden, and when I do this on Madden, it works. But you had 5, you could hit pause and decide what you're going to do, go up and get a sandwich and come back and then run your play. You have to make these decisions in 30 seconds on the, it's not an easy job. I'm not making excuses for the coaches. I don't think they need any excuses made for them in this game. They lost the football game.
Well, I'm going to throw one coach. I'm going to roll one coach at least a little bit under the bus myself here. I thought that there were situations where this offense needed to get 4 or 5 yards, and Ben would get himself some time, or the offense would get him time. And Dale, all the wide receivers are from here to the point fountain I'm looking at over there.
Well, I think they were trying to take advantage of some stuff that the Raiders show, and the Raiders aren't great in the secondary. We saw Roethlisberger trying some downfield throws.
But come back to the football.
But guys got to make plays. Chase Claypool had 2 big drops today. He's got to come down with those balls. He just has to.
He does. Yeah, there's got to be more of a combat factor with him. But I'm talking about just coming back to the football, and that can be scripted, Dale. That can be put into the route tree.
But that's the same situation when they run 4 guys deep and they have another player running a crosser and the quarterback checks it down, and then everybody says, why are they running plays short of the sticks? Because everything was covered down the field.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but I just think, look, wherever the stick is, go 1 yard past it. When we come back, more from Heinz Field. Welcome back to Steelers Today. He's Dale Lolley. I'm Dejan Kovacevic, and we talked about attrition, and we talked about injuries, and we talked about their impact on this game. The fact is, Dale, especially the Tyson Alualu injury,
it's long term.
It's long term.
You're looking
at a fractured ankle.
Probably 6 to 8 weeks. And
he's going to miss half the season.
He's going to miss half the season. We'll see about the other guys. Groin injuries can be tricky. We don't know. Is it a tear? Is it a strain?
Groins are, in addition to being like really hard to determine because they have percentage tears. Well, they'll tell you that all athletes' groins are torn in some form.
Correct.
It's just the degree, the percentage. So unless they're getting in there with MRIs or whatever, not to freak everybody out.
And I'm
here.
sure they will.
But you're going to have a hard time telling exactly when someone's going to be back or how much it'll linger, because groin injuries do linger and they affect your effectiveness.
And your explosiveness, your ability to change direction, all that stuff.
And listen to who we're talking about with the groin injuries. TJ Watt, Devin Bush, and Joe Hayden. All three of them with similar injuries here. And those are three guys that you need to be explosive. They can't just go out there and, kind of like, I'm feeling kind of okay.
Well, I think you can do some things. It's one thing when that happens in game and you only have so many players to lean on in those situations. When you scheme things up during the week, if you look at those injuries, Bush and Hayden were both on Friday after the game plan is kind of put together. Watt goes out after the first quarter and isn't back in there. Alualu was hurt in the first quarter. So you're making those in-game changes. You're basically running the game plan that you had, because you can't completely change it up with guys who aren't to the level of the players that you're missing. So you can do some things schematically, knowing that you're not going to have those guys available that give you a better chance to win. So I think the defense, maybe they get one or two or three, even three of those guys back for the game against the Bengals next week. Maybe they get none of them.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
But I think they'll have a much better game plan if they're not back, because you can scheme around that a little bit.
And we'll be remiss if not pointing out that Deontay Johnson hurt his knee on the very last snap of the game. And look, at least with Deontay, who would come in and replace him. It's
right.
James Washington. What about the rest of this group? I mean, with TJ, Melvin Ingram obviously ascends to a starting role, but who's your third rotational edge rusher?
Well,
Is it Jameer Jones?
It's Jameer Jones, but I think the thing that you have to look at is say, okay, I know they wanted to do this rotation to keep everybody fresh. Well, now you're going to be 3 games into this thing. Your starters have to play 80% of the snaps. I mean, there was a series that they started where the Raiders got the ball at midfield. And I noted, I think Watt had already been hurt, but Cam Hayward's not out there to start the series. The Raiders have the ball at like the 40.
Yeah.
Like,
what are you doing?
They just held the football for the entire end of the first quarter and into the, I'm like, he's plenty, Cam Hayward's plenty rested at this point. Get him out on the field. So, I think the rotation stuff
they might have taken the whole standard as a standard thing a little too far with some of the usages. And beyond that, Hayden, the corners, I mean, it's going to come down to Juan Pierre. It's going to come down to Cam Sutton. We were singing about Cam Sutton last week. I don't know that he played his greatest game here. It's going to be tough, and never mind the inside linebackers, plural, because you're out there now with, Robert Spillane. I mean, he had an impact, and I mean that in the most literal sense of the term more than once. When he hits you, you're already playing next Sunday, okay, or you aren't.
Yeah.
And so he did that, but at the same time, without either of us having had the opportunity to go back through the film, I'm going to guess that a big part of Derek Carr's day was because he didn't have to encounter some of these guys, including Bush, in pass coverage.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. Obviously, not having TJ Watt's an impact. He is one of the top 5 defenders in the NFL. When you don't have him out there, I don't care how good the other guys are, you're just not as good. And when he's not out there 100% of the, or even 75% of the time, he played 80% of the snaps last week against the Bills. You're bringing Jameer Jones in. I like Jameer Jones. I think that he has, some potential, but not as a guy who I want to see out there for 40 snaps. That's just the reality of the situation. It's just not going to be as good. And it goes beyond that. We talked in the first segment about, how much Cam Hayward was being paid attention, how much attention was being paid to him. It's because TJ Watt's not on the other side pushing. Yeah. So it makes a huge difference. And by the way, you're also missing Stephon Tuitt.
Can't forget that. The Steelers got hit hard here, and maybe harder even than the result. I mean, we'll see how this stuff shapes up, but the best thing that could happen for the Steelers over the course of the coming week is that they can find legitimately good news on one or more of these fronts, but especially TJ. It's just such a different team without him. Thanks to everybody for watching. We'll have another Steelers Today on Tuesday after the Mike Tomlin press conference.